All right, it's Guillermo Mash here in the KZFR production studio for the February 12th Peace and Social Justice Show. It is my distinct pleasure to have in the studio Rachel Love from Chico Area Punks. Welcome to KZFR, Rachel.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Rachel Love and your love for punk.
Well, it started as a teenager and just never seemed to fade away. I moved here when I was like 19 and started playing in a band and did 6 U.S. tours and a European tour and just never kind of gave it up.
Wow, what's the band names?
Grok was the band
Grok?
that I did all that touring with, yeah.
G-R-U-C-K?
G-R-U-K.
Grok.
Yeah.
No C's in Grok.
No C's in Grok.
That's awesome. So you've been a touring punk artist. I love that. Tell us a little bit about Chico Area Punks before I kind of say my love for Chico Area Punks.
Chico Area Punks is a DIY booking collective that helps promote metal, punk, alternative music within Chico.
Awesome. I'm going to read this little thing and kind of give you my experience over the past year at Monstros Pizza. It's where they put on all their shows, correct? Or done at Monstros?
Most of them, yeah.
Most. But Chico Area Punks was founded in 2000. We strive to create an open, sustainable, fun, and safe-ish place for bands to play and people of all ages to come out and rock together. All the bands are paid by show cover charges, so please support our local music scene. And this is where I really can add some color to this. The experiences I've seen to create a safe space where everyone feels like they can be who they are. But there's no fascist, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, I probably got that wrong, bull crap. We're all about bringing people together in a safe, autonomous space, not tearing others down based on societal-isms and phobias. And I have to say, I was telling Rachel before we got on the air, is I was blessed because John Holm actually works out of 6th Street, and Josh Indar, I'd kind of met Josh towards the end of 2014. But the bottom line, they told me to go over to Monstros for a fundraiser you guys were doing for 6th Street. And a lot of those Chico Area Punk shows are physically fundraisers. And I went in there and I was just beholden to the whole place, and I went to your birthday party, Rachel, just for the audience members, and it really clicked with me, this whole idea and how important it is for youth to have someplace they can go where they can feel safe and be in an all ages environment. I actually saw a 5-year-old that was physically there. He was there all the way to the end of the second band, which is which rhymes with ducktard for the radio audience. But he had the coolest look on his face. And like I was telling Rachel, the neatest scene I saw, the kid must have been maybe, I don't know, 14 years old, but at the end of the show, John Holm just nails it. It's his last show, John Holm last show. It's on the billboard. But anyway, he turned around and he's in rainbow hair, and he just had this look on his face, Rachel, like he was never going to forget being at Rachel's birthday for Chico Area Punk. So I mean, what would you add to that whole scene that you guys got going at Monsters?
We try our best to have fun shows for everybody, for all ages, and part of the work that goes on behind the scenes for that is to screen lyrics from bands that request shows through us and sorting through lyrics and making sure that we aren't booking bands without meaning to that are racist or sexist or whatever, and trying to make sure that everybody feels safe at all times during shows.
Yeah, and I've seen that. As I was telling you, that I've been there enough times. I've been there 6 or 7 times that it always impresses me when a collective like this, because none of you guys make any money doing this. You just do it for the love of the punk scene. When you physically say you're going to set up a space and then you do it, and I mean, I physically have witnessed that at Chico Area Punks. And what I witnessed this time was the coolest thing, because I'm an older guy, and it was fun. It's not really talking about Bill Mash's his little forays in the punk scene when I was younger in Plymouth, England and stuff. But I think the whole safe-ish maybe comes to the fact that you guys have a really cool mosh pit that sometimes breaks out there when you have certain bands. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Basically the safe-ish is alluding to the mosh pit for the fact that we don't have a stage for the bands to play on. It's just on the floor with sawdust. So, if people want to mosh or dance or whatever, they can kind of go for it as long as they're not hurting anybody purposely, like while they're doing it. But yeah, just for everybody to have fun and cut loose.
Yeah, Josh was actually, because he's been in the punk scene, Josh Indar, since he was 12, back in 86, 84, somewhere around there. But he had kind of made the comment about the mosh. He's seen all levels of punk. And he said, this is the big thing here. He said, you saw a couple of people fall down when they were moshing and people picked them up.
Yeah.
He said he's been in the clubs where that wasn't the case, You fell down. It's just, I just was so freaking beholden particularly this last time, because there was a young gentleman, maybe 30 years old, thereabouts. He was in the parking lot describing how great the place was to some of his friends who had never been there. And he says, man, it's just amazing. It's just the perfect thing. It's all ages and they sell beer, you know?
Yep.
You know? But
Pretty rare.
Pretty rare. I was telling Josh Indar, I was kind of like Europe, where bars are places where folks, or music and bars are places where families kind of feel like they're safe to meet. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about the history of the Chico Area Punks and that Monstrose building in particular. I mean, have you been involved since 2000?
Yes, I have been. So I moved here in 2000. I met this band called the Pawns, and they were already booking shows in Chico and kind of just started helping out, work door and stuff like that. And then we formed a collective in 2000. There was 13 or 14 of us. We kind of have gone through a couple of name changes. Went from Chico Area Punks to Chico Area Pirate Punks, and then we weren't into that. It wasn't working anymore, and we just basically dropped the name and went back to Chico Area Punks with all the same people. So just changed the moniker basically to distance ourselves from what was going on with Pirate Punks at the time.
I don't know the members. I mean, the two people I'm describing basically are band members, Josh and John. You know, I know a couple of the other. My favorite artist in Chico is Jeffy B. I love that guy, and he's in there about every other time I go in there. I give him a big hug. Robert Howard. But I don't know the actual Chico Area Punks that people putting the shows on as well as I do the performers. I mean, do you guys mostly have known each other for many years then, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. Most of the people involved have been involved since the very beginning. There's a group of probably 8 to 10 of us that have been involved with it from the get-go. So, and then through the years, you know, life happens. People need to take breaks or bow out or whatever. And then we're always trying to get new people to help volunteer, because you can never have too many people when you're not getting paid, because everyone has real jobs, and, you know, you unfortunately cannot dedicate your life solely.
I want to volunteer.
Okay.
There you go.
Awesome.
I really, really appreciate what you guys are doing. We have a new volunteer right here on KZFR. Call in KZFR. You want to volunteer? Chico Area Punks. I'm actually having a good experience. I'm actually going to have Thomas Kellum, director of Stonewall Alliance here in Chico.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm actually going to say this and say, did you know about this? I'm really kind of curious to see how they promote a space like this, because I see that as a wonderful, wonderful space for gender identity, and just a place where people can go and not worry about, like, even for me, I go in there and I'm like this 55-year-old guy. I'm like, sometimes I'm the oldest guy in there, you know, but I feel like I fit in, you know?
Yeah.
Right? It's not like everyone's looking and going, look at that old guy.
Who's that geezer back there?
Back there? One thing I'm really interested in, particularly knowing that you've been involved since the get-go, is just a little bit about, you know, how you get a DIY collective together and what do-it-yourself really means to Chico Area Punks and anyone else that might want to do something for the community as a collective.
We formed basically to create a division of labor, because it was getting too intense because of all the legwork that goes with booking and promoting music. So rather than having one person that has to find the venue and make the flyers and book the locals and make sure that the bands have a place to stay if they're touring, we decided to all work together, because we all were working together basically when we started, to make sure that we're taking care of each other and taking care of the bands in the community and bands that are on tour.
And it obviously, just from outside looking in, it seems like you've done an amazing job, because like I said, I've been there a half dozen times in the past year, and nearly every show you have someone from outside the Chico area.
Yeah. Our primary focus is booking shows for touring bands, but we like to do locals only shows to do benefits for community outreach.
Well, what's cool for me as a guy that likes music, is nearly every show I've been to at Monstrose is at least 3 bands, and there's always, at least every show I've gone, at least one, if not 2 Chico local bands.
Yeah.
Right? So you try to book an act that's from Chico, and then you have these touring acts that come in. Is that the basic?
Yeah, that's the basis of it, yeah.
And I have seen some incredible, I was there for that guy that did those loop tracks. He was a one-man band.
Oh, yeah, John Underwood.
Yeah, John Underwood? Yeah, and his friend Chris. Those guys were amazing. So that whole show was amazing, actually. Then you had Mitchell and Member at the end. They were a 23-string band.
Yep.
You know? So some of the music I've actually seen there has been just amazing. But to me, it's the vibe. It's physically the vibe. So as you're looking at this collective and stuff, you talked a little bit about bookings and stuff like that. Talk about how you manage the space, because obviously you've got a show going on. Everyone's there. You know, what is the collective doing to make sure that there's no fascist, racist, and people feel safe-ish?
Well, we basically have like 5 or 6 people that are, you know, if we're running a show, they need to be there. So we have, you know, a couple people doing door, a couple people, one person doing sound, one person keeping an eye on the crowd to make sure there's no one getting too rowdy or violent, or if a fight breaks out or something, then, you know, obviously dealing with that in the best way. Somebody in the parking lot to make sure that there's nobody drinking out there, because that would jeopardize the space, and making sure that everybody's getting along.
Yeah, what's kind of cool, which is different than, you know, some venues I've been to, is the Chico Area Punks blend in. You're not going to walk in there and know who's Chico Area Punks. You're just like you would normally dress.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to put security on your thing or something.
Yeah.
You know, which I always thought was kind of silly. So we talked about the collective itself. I mean, what would you suggest to people that are trying to get something started like this?
I would say just do it and figure it out as you go. You know, we weren't planning on doing this for as long as we have. This will be, in the fall, it'll be 10 years we've been doing shows at Monstro's Pizza. So the fact that we've made it last that long is kind of amazing, because all ages venues come and go in town, and, you know, hanging on to anything longer than a few years is pretty amazing. And we're still all kind of awestruck that it still is, knock on wood, everything's going super awesome, and we're able to do shows there.
It's literally an amazing experience as I can see it. Maybe just a little bit of a lead in. The reason that I'm physically doing this interview was an interview that Josh Indar and I did collectively with Larry Livermore from Lookout Records. And you know, it was kind of cool, Rachel. It started out, and I said, you know, I really want to make sure that the people in the Peace and Social Justice show know that this really is about, you know, economic justice and the ability to have free speech and to gather. And we were talking about the different genres of music and how people might not consider punk to be, you know, political. And by the time I even quit talking, Larry just nailed it out of the park. He said, "Oh, I'm dealing with that every day." He said, "Everyone's talking about these, you know, the Bob Dylans and stuff." But he's like, no, it's punk rockers that are out there every day, you know, physically being the face and the voice for political change. Like the Ducktards, rhymes with Ducktards. They started out with this really cool song about fascism in America.
Yeah.
You know, and Josh actually had told me, which I didn't know the backstory, maybe I heard it, and the way he kind of phrased it, you know, the Dixie Chicks spoke out against the war, and it kind of killed their career. And he said then Green Day comes out with an album, the entire album, American Idiot, was about the Iraq War. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that punk music gets the credit or the initial understanding of how much they do in the political scene. What would you say to that?
I would totally agree with that. I think a lot of people take punk rock as, oh, it's angry, chaos, anarchy, Sex Pistols, smash and destroy, rather than being a means to be a social movement or a cultural movement. I think for me, most of the punk that I listen to is all socially driven kind of stuff. It's not just 3 chords like Ramones-ish, as much as I love the Ramones, but it's like there's serious topics being discussed.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing more serious to me, you know, in the love I have for working with at-risk, in-risk youth, just to know that there is a place like that they can go, and they know they can fit in, and they're not going to be looked down upon or even up upon. And it really is, I call myself a practicing egalitarian. It really feels that way there. I mean, everyone's just kind of on the same playing field.
Yeah.
Even the bands.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. To me, the vibe, I've been there enough. I've been to a lot of shows, Rachel, and I'm like, I don't get this vibe of like, I am the big dog here. You know,
no.
Right? I don't get that at all.
Well, there's no stage, so there's really no way they can look down their noses at anybody.
Yeah, it's just like everyone feels so blessed to be there. So we're about 15 minutes in. I mean, is there anything else you'd like us to know about the Chico Area Punks and Monstro Space, maybe upcoming shows?
I forgot to look at my phone, so I don't remember the next show. We usually do about 1 show a week, 3 or 4 per month.
Really? You do that? I didn't think it was like, a couple of times a month?
No. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm missing out on a lot of
action. It's usually about 1 a week.
Wow. So. I guess I got to follow Chico Area Punks more often. And you guys are on Facebook? Or do you have any other presence?
Yes, we're on Facebook, Chico Area Punks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then they have the, how to book with Chico Area Punks. The part that I really, really liked, it's like we book 10 weeks in advance, no sooner, no later. So basically, if you want to book a venue, call 10 weeks in advance.
Well, it helps us stay organized and make sure that we're booking good quality shows and not just, okay, we'll book this last minute show and throw something together and have it just kind of fall flat. We want to promote good music and make sure that everybody enjoys themselves.
So far, so good. Based on my experience, I haven't seen anything that wasn't amazing. Although I have to say, your birthday party was epic. So
it was pretty epic.
It was
very fun.
Epic. We're just happy to have you, Rachel Love, here on the Peace and Social Justice Show, and look forward to, I'm pulling this out of memory, but I'm pretty sure it's the 23rd. Larry Livermore is coming to the bookstore here in Chico, and he's going to do a reading out of his book, answer a bunch of questions and answers. Have you met Larry Livermore?
No, I have not.
Yeah? His book is freaking amazing. It was actually kind of funny. So Josh sent me the invite to the bookstore thing, and I immediately came back and said, I'd like to do an interview on him. Josh, I swear to God, he says, would you like to read his book? I said, sure. He says, well, I'll bring it over. So he comes over to my house within 10 minutes. Within 15 minutes, he's at my house with the Larry Livermore.
That's
How to run/ruin. It's kind of a little take on the title. It's got run with the U has an I in it, so it looks like run and ruin. A radio, but he's going to be in town on the 23rd, and we're doing a really neat interview that Josh and I had with him.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him speak.
And I really think I'll publicize it on Chico Area Punks, this interview and that one, but it really was a really good interview with Larry. Josh and I really had a lot of fun with that, and you're going to get to know a lot about him, just from listening to that interview. So I just feel kind of blessed to kind of promote the Chico punk scene and the all ages DIY scene, and the ability for people to be seen and be who they are. That's important to me. So thanks again, Rachel, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And happy birthday again, Rachel.
Thank you.
I hope you do a birthday every year, because your birthday parties are epic.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
All right, we're back live in the studio, and I just like I said, once again, I felt really blessed to talk to Rachel and just to be a little associated with that venue, and to Tom, and he's going to give us some of his insights on what we got out of that interview. But as a youth, man, it's so important to be respected and treated kindly for who you are, and that space hits it out of the park. So what would you have to say, Tom?
It's just so amazing. I've never actually heard of them before, and I love what I was hearing. Mm-hmm. Having some place where you can feel like you can just let go and relax and not have to be, tense and fearful of judgment, and is just so amazing. It's one of the things that really soothes our soul at any age, but I think particularly for kids, it's so important to be able to find a place where they feel like they can fit in, they can be who they are, they can feel safe. Some of the things that Rachel was talking about being conscious of the words that are in the songs before they let people play them is huge. So much of the way that hate gets expressed are in words, and even like these little microaggressions that happen against people. In our community, we talk about people using the wrong pronouns or not using the name that somebody wants to go by, and those little things are so huge when people do it positively, right, and respect that and follow through with it. It's just amazing. So creating a conscious, safe space, I'm all for it.
One thing I want to add that comes to my mind, rhymes with ducktard. This is how much they put into the emphasis to this. When they started their show, the guy was an old school East Bay punker. He pretty much had this cool little joke. They made him, block out the rhymes with duck. But he said, what's wrong with the Chico community? He says, most of the communities I go to, they don't like the fact that we use tard, right? And he really wanted to make that point. That really hit home for me, because I'm like, you know what? That is more offensive to me. The whole retard, or talking about people's intelligence. But that's how much effort they put in. That's a charged word, and I think people need to be aware of that. So once again, Thomas Callum, thank you for all that you do, man. And it's just such a blessing to have you come in here. Oh, I'm not going to stay anytime. I can't come back every week, Tom, but I'd love to have you back.